Hello, I'm Ira Steven Behr, and I'm here with the Sci-Fi Sistas.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and I'm joined today by my sisters, Yvette Blackman-Tom.
Hello.
Sabrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
And Fran T.
What's happening?
What's happening, Fran, is that we have a guest with us today that literally has us all and trying really hard not to fangirl. I know. I'm trying to be so cool right now because the brother has the coolest beard in the universe. That's number one. And number two, he's responsible for our favorite Star Trek. I'm not even going to mess around and tell y'all, you know who we're talking about. We're talking about none only than Ira Steven Behr. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yay!
We couldn't even be more ecstatic that you're here. And like we were saying before we started, we are huge DS9 fans. All of us to a T. DS9, hands down, is our favorite show. So to be sitting here talking to somebody who had a direct hand in creating the awesomeness that is DS9 is just like a dream come true. And, you know, we know you're a regular man and you put your pants on one leg at a time. But
who told you that?
I got my sources.
Do you have cameras in here?
We got sources, baby.
Say so.
But before we get to DS9 talk,
yes,
I got to go back, way back, because you are also part of one of my foundational childhood memories, which is Fame.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I know, right? I remember that show being on, and I remember thinking that this is what high school was like. And man, I couldn't wait to get there.
That was must-see TV.
Yes.
Back in the day. That was must-see TV.
My wife still says that I was never happier. I never came home happier from a job, less stressed out, even though there were plenty of times I was stressed out, but just much more upbeat and easy to be with than when I was doing Fame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, partly I didn't even become a producer until the last season. So I didn't quite have the responsibilities that I've had on other shows. But I like the people I was working with a lot. Not that I didn't like them on other shows, but I could literally fall out of bed. And if I wanted to walk to, at the time, this is how long ago it was, MGM. We stood in the parking lot the day they took the gigantic MGM sign, and people were weeping. People who'd been with MGM for 20 years, who it was like the height of show business and film, were weeping in the parking lot as they took down that sign. But I liked a lot. I had interesting relationships with a lot of the kids who were featured on the show as actors. I loved Debbie.
Yes,
she was fantastic. There were a lot of good people. There was, I mean, I don't want to tell stories out of school, but just
tell them.
It was the 80s. Which wasn't quite the 70s, but it was the 80s. Right. So you could walk into the closest bathroom closest men's room to the dance rehearsal hall. And sometimes you would find a spray of blood on the wall from where someone had jacked up. There was a lot of freaky stuff going on. Not in the writer's room. In the stages. And then, the first season I was there, Janet Jackson was on the show.
Oh my God.
I met her dad. It was a great time, and I was doing what I wanted to do. I had been on another show before that. It was just I have nothing but fond memories. And just yesterday, we're picketing, and I just walked for 3 hours yesterday with Mike McGreevy, who was on that show with me for years. We wrote it together, we produced it in the last season together, and we're still close friends. And so fame keeps on giving. So
wow,
that's awesome.
Weren't you really young when you were working on that show?
Oh yeah, man, I was still at 3 times a day they had to change my diapers. But,
you know what I mean, man.
I have to say, as time goes on, I realized I wasn't that much older than some of the kids on who were not exactly kids.
Right.
There was a lot of fudging of ages as it turned out. Find out later, but it was just it was a really good time in my life. I was set up by one of the other writers on the show, set up on a blind date with the woman who became my wife, who danced, who was a professional ballerina, and they needed a ballerina for the episode when Nicole had been killed in a car accident, and they needed someone to do the dance of death, the ballet dance of death.
Yes.
And my wife did it on the show, so she got to work on the show, so that was fun. It was just a good time. It was just a good time. And we were, I think it was Mike. I forget now, it was Mike or myself, but we were in the Gable building in the offices that Rod Serling had when he did the Twilight Zone.
Oh wow!
Being in that was just so. Of course, I was a lot younger, and I was very much impressed with Hollywood history. So just thinking of that mind being in that space was a kick,
Yeah.
Yeah, you could hear the voice now. My God. In the Gable building. Okay, I'm loving
Gable. Imagine if you will.
Yeah. So thanks for mentioning, and also, just we used to have if fan letters would come to the show and it wasn't addressed to a specific actor, if it was sent to a specific actor, they would, wherever it went, to their people, whatever. But if it just said fame, you get boxes of mail that were just dumped in our office, right? Because they didn't know what to do with it. So whenever we got like tired or too stressed out, we'd open up these letters. Some of them written with pencil. I mean, young kids, age, and you just read these very simple, heartfelt, how much the show meant to them and how much Gene Anthony Ray meant to them.
Oh man, yes.
Yes. It was just, at that time in my life, I was just amazed that I was sitting at MGM opening up fan mail. Whether it was sent to me or not didn't matter.
Right.
I didn't know who I was, but that was fun.
Oh, man.
It's like
that was a great show. Really was.
I love that show.
Yeah. And Ira, you didn't go to Juilliard, did you? Did you go to you were in front of
the School of the Performing Arts. I haven't mentioned this in many years, but I will say it to you.
Well, it'll be our secret.
I actually auditioned. Wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. I actually auditioned for the School of the Performing Arts because there was a little period of time where I wanted to act, believe it or not. And I did not get in because at the same time I was going through what every kid was going through back then, which we don't have to get into. But I did know some people who went there, and so it was just and the other thing was shooting, the first 2 weeks of every season we shot in New York, right? We'd shoot, we'd write these musical numbers for the first 8 episodes, right? Then be put into the first 8 episodes, but we'd shoot them all in the first 2 weeks of the show.
Oh, wow.
So in the city, in Manhattan. And I have to tell you, there's still nothing I've been through, and I've been through a lot of cool things. Nothing was as cool as that first time I'm sitting just outside of Central Park, and 59th Street.
Oh, yeah.
In a director's chair, all the other producer, director, whatever, sitting in director's chairs with this huge musical number.
Oh, man.
And it's like, someone frickin' pinch me, man. This is like, and I invited every one of my Bronx boys to come and watch.
That's what's up.
One of them came.
Of course you did.
Sons of, they were too cool, they had, it was like, what the hell? When I left for California, I'm sure they all said, well, don't worry. If it doesn't work out, you can always.
That's right.
That's what I was thinking, obviously. But I still talk to them, to the ones who are still alive. I still tell them, I still give them hell for not coming to visit when I was in town shooting.
That is so cool.
It is.
And we thank you for sharing that little personal tidbit with us.
Wow.
We aim to create a safe space,
There you go.
So I thought I heard somewhere, or you talking somewhere, and you were saying that there's something that you brought from Fame and put into Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. It was a whole episode I brought from.
A little something.
I had written an episode called "The Old Ball Game" on Fame, which was about the Fame kids playing this team in a baseball game, and it was a fun script. And the episode came out. Rob Morrow, who was on Northern Exposure, was one of the first episodes. He came. He was the captain of the other team, the asshole on the other team, and he was good. But it was a little difficult. Let's be honest, to do a baseball game with a lot of dancers who did not look fantastic playing the outfield.
never had a glove on in their lives.
And they know what a glove was, probably.
And the other thing was, the one thing, and this was in the first season I did, so I was just, I was a lowly whatever I was, script consultant, so I didn't even get to go. I think maybe once I went down to the set where they were filming, the location where they were filming the baseball team. And all I said to the executive producer was, it's supposed to be like Queens. We're shooting this in. I think that's where the field was supposed to be. Just tell the DP not to shoot the palm trees. Okay. Palm trees. The only thing we have to watch out for. Don't
palm trees.
Shoot palm trees. And if you watch the episode, which you can find or not, they're the goddamn palm trees.
No palm trees in Flushing.
I have to do this episode again without the palm trees. But I didn't want to write it. That felt too much like, ripping myself off. So I felt I should not be the one writing it. So I gave it to Ron Moore, to write it. Because he was becoming a big baseball fan at that time. And some of the same gags, I got to tell you. Some of the same gags. Not knowing who to tag because they all look alike.
It's such a good one. That's so brilliant.
And that's based on something that actually happened in the minor leagues that I read about.
Wow.
You know, the teams changed so much in the minors at times that the catcher just hadn't been paying attention. And they said he didn't touch home plate. Tag him. And he ran to the dugout and he looked at all these faces and he didn't know who they were. He just went down the whole line, tagging people and looking at the
Oh my gosh!
So that was a fun show, and Avery was so into it. When Avery was into things, you knew everything was going to be good because number one on the call sheet, and you want him to be happy. And Ciroc was into it, and
of course.
Max could actually play some ball, and so he had to pretend he was a lefty or something. I forget. They had to give him a glove so that he would look more awkward. It was too difficult for him to do it with his natural throwing hand and batting stance. So
wrong.
I mean, that was fun. But yes, so Fame did have. Yes, Fame did wind up on Deep Space Nine.
And what an episode.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What an episode.
Yes, the opposition.
That is my first cosplay outfit. I definitely have a complete Niners baseball
Total
outfit.
Niners.
Hey, man, nothing makes me happier than the couple of times, I don't do it often, but if I go to a convention and I see people in Niner uniforms, I have to tell you, it's because I know, people keep saying, and I'm not saying it's not true, that they watched the show from the beginning and they were fans from the beginning, but the truth is, it was lonely out there. Well,
we know.
Yep.
We were not beloved by anyone.
Exactly.
And of course, people would tell us like, oh, of course you like Deep Space Nine. It's got the black guy in it. And I'm like, it has nothing to do. Okay, it has a little bit to do with that. It has a little bit to do. But the fact of the matter was that I can't stand behind, if the show was shit.
That's it.
I wasn't going to be able to stand behind it. And it wasn't shit. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was something, it was unlike anything else we'd ever seen. And it was our shit.
Yeah.
Right from the emissary. We were like,
from the pilot,
Hi.
okay? It's still the best pilot.
It's
Michael,
still the best pilot.
without a doubt, when Michael died, and I was close to Michael, I still miss Michael. I mean, very different people in a lot of ways, but Michael and I really got along, and I like Michael a lot. So when Michael passed away in 2005, I hadn't seen an episode since we'd gone off the air, and I watched the pilot, and I was really impressed by seeing that pilot again, because so much of what we did later on, long after Michael was gone from the show, so much of it was all there.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times, there was frustration because it was like, don't you guys know what you created? Why are you giving me a hard time? I'm just following the path you laid out. That's what I wanted to do, was take what the emissary promised on all levels, the father-son relationship, all the character, all the stuff that's in there, and just take it to the limit. That was all I felt my job was. And anytime people were trying to get in the way of that, it just became a thing. Not that I like having to go through things, but I'm willing to go through things.
Mm-hmm.
And, so anyway, but the fact is that, it was probably maybe better for us, for the show, actually, that we were so deep undercover at times. It felt like, I think it probably was better for the show, and what, was problematic in 1997 seems like business as usual in 2023 for television. And that's
one word for that: arc, storyline arcs. Today, with the streaming and everything, it fits perfectly with what's going on in 2023. I must say, and I say this, I put this into Deep Space Nine, and I'm a huge Trekkie. Deep Space Nine has stood the test of time, and it has also proven to be the best written, directed, character,
development.
Thank you. I'm getting kind of, and it's just it's wonderful to see how that went through the 7 years, the 7 seasons that you all were on. Right now, you look at it now, and it's like, and it has stood the test of time. Well, unlike some other.
Well, we just watched it. 10 episodes of Picard. We just watched DS9.
I know, but I mean, I'm just gonna, DS9 is on. I'm gonna watch it, or I'm gonna put it on my TV. It was just a great show, and characters, the chemistry. It was just all there to see and feel. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But like she said, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, like Fran was saying, I think me and Sabrina have had this conversation. We just watched Picard, which was really good. But my problem was that it got to use the beautiful background and story development of DS9 without the characters of DS9. And it really goes back to the same thing. And I was there when DS9 came on. I was always watching Trek. It was always somebody else's Trek, and I was just kind of watching. But DS9 was my Trek. I loved it. I was in the military during the time DS9 came on. So I would see it. I wouldn't see it all the way through, but I would see it like when I would come home, or if I was on a base somewhere overseas during the summer. But it was my Trek. I got married during that time. I had a family. So everything that was going on was, I actually saw, it happening in my Trek. And it's everything to me. And then when I watched this season, I'm probably ranting again, and I apologize, but I just wanted to tell you that I thought of you and Michael and all the other writers, because the backdrop of that season, which was so good, was DS9.
Picard.
Picard was DS9. And I want everyone to please realize that, the benefit that they got was from all the work, all the love, sweat, and tears of those writers that people just didn't pay attention to when it was coming on. And, everybody likes it now. Well, they're finding out about it. And that's a good thing. Hopefully it will bring more people to find out about DS9. But I wanted to bring that up and let you know that we do see that. And your work, that's how good it is. They're still using it,
Yeah, well, that's nice. My take is always, I remember when John Lennon was killed, and I was being visited by a friend from England, like a month or two later, whatever. And she was staying with me and at some point we started to talk about Lennon, and I went through the typical thing of, oh, isn't it a shame, that the Beatles didn't get a chance to get back together and make more albums. And she goes, man, that's such an American kind of attitude. It's like you always want more. Just be happy with all the stuff, the stuff that the Beatles did, the stuff he did alone. It's like, yeah, it's terrible that he was, murdered, obviously. Terrible, horrible at 40 years old. She wasn't making light of it. But to be all bent out of shape about, if only there was more, if only, it's like, that's why I keep telling people all the time, there's 170 odd episodes of Deep Space Nine. Stop asking, is there going to be another Deep Space Nine? Is there going to be more Deep Space? It's like, guys, that's Deep Space Nine. Renee is gone. Avery, I don't know what's going on with Avery. I don't know, whether he wants to or is capable of whatever. I mean, it's just, it would never be the same show. Do we really want to see a reboot DS9 with all new actors playing those characters?
No. Right.
So Odo is off the table. Ran into Salome Jens. I saw her in a play last year. Salome, is not going to be doing the changeling, the female. I mean, just be happy with what we have. That's
yes. Yes.
I get that. And at the same time, it was so good that I yearn for more. I can't stop myself, because we love the world that you all created. We love those characters so much. It's hard to just let them go. But that's why I just watch it all over again all the time.
It's crazy.
DS9 is on in my house all the time.
Well, look, I love hearing that. I mean, obviously, that's a nice thing to hear. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I mean, obviously, that's lovely to hear, and I thank you from the bottom of the place where my heart would be if I had one. But that's all good. But we did the best we could. I mean, certainly I did the best I could to end that show, to stick a fork in that show. Because we knew we weren't going to do a movie. So, we try to split as many people up as we could, give them someplace else to go and someplace else to do. As we were planning at the time, we would never have been able to come up with another, set of antagonists like the Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Dominion. So if there had been an 8th season, as I kept telling the writers, the only place to go really was Earth, and that's when we got into our version of Section 31, which the fans would have despised. Especially back then, because how could there be evil at the heart of the? But once you've conquered all the villains, the only villain left is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it would have just been something else for people to be disappointed in. I mean, I used to tell people that the difference between Outlander fans and Deep Space Nine fans is the Outlander fans want to bake you cookies and knit you sweaters, and Deep Space Nine fans want to tell you how much they love the show, but what you did wrong and what you could have done. And don't you realize that Ducat is really a nice guy?
That's just
he didn't have
standard
to
Star
be
Trek.
hanging out with Kira's mother, though. That was wrong.
Ooh, that show.
That was wrong.
That was his. Well, better her mother than her, so
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, did you see any similarities? You might not, but I mean, between the critiques of the that DS9 got in the beginning, and the scene and the type of criticism that disco and newer Treks, because I do.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, and that's why be careful what you wish for, because it's like there is something about this franchise, and maybe all franchises now. I mean, social media, man, it just it's
exhausting.
It's antisocial.
You know, exactly. So true. Well put. That's what it is. So yes, I thought it was quite amusing that here you go. You know, there's been a chunk of time where there was no more new Trek on TV, and here comes some new Trek. So hate it, you know, watch it. And that's the other thing. The other thing with Trek that drives me crazy, maybe again, this is true of you know, Marvel, but I don't know. It seems to be really a Trek thing that people who can only criticize it, but they can't stop watching. If I don't, I don't watch it.
Right.
York people.
That's
the
a
channel.
That's a Trek thing.
This isn't forever. We're you know, you're not going to be here. You're going to be, you know, a cold, you know, marble corpse. So don't waste time with things you don't like.
Yes.
You know, don't. You know, it's just it's.
And let me like it. Just let me like it.
It's okay, you know.
You always have to try to convince you of why you should not like it. You know, it's just the thing.
Yeah, I feel like there's.
Now they're not saying it's, you know. At least the only thing Discovery did not get was it was really stolen from Babylon 5.
Oh God, all the time with that.
Still.
Yes, still. Babylon 5 will never go away, and now all of a sudden it's all about politics. And is Star Trek woke? And was Star Trek political in the past?
Oh,
and
come on!
Things that just seem like so unnecessary to be arguing about.
Yeah.
Why?
Really, which is, you know, one of the reasons why I don't watch Star Trek.
There you go.
It's just
I mean, it's one of the reasons why, like, we decided that why the Sci-Fi Sisters formed. You know, we got tired of arguing with people. I don't need to argue with you. I just need to exist over here and do my thing and love what I love and talk about it the way I want to talk about it. You know?
Very cool.
Yep.
You know, what I like about it personally, and I was just saying this online today, picketing to an actor who was picketing along with us, is that, you know, back in 1990, whatever it was, we were told flat out, even though, you know, we had Avery and we had Serac and we had Penny and Brock Peters. I mean, that's not, they weren't saying that was bad or they were trying to stop that. That's not what I'm going to say. But they were saying, you know, the thing you have to understand is black people don't watch science fiction and Star Trek has no black fans. We were constantly.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. How in the world?
I think we've always gotten that, though.
Yeah.
Because that's why we started this. I mean, you go into these spaces and they're like, Fran even mentioned it, you don't look like a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
I used to get that all the time. And I'm like, well, I don't know what at my house, I look like a Star Trek fan.
Big one.
Right.
Exactly.
Or assume you're like a pseudo fan and you don't really know
you
your
don't know
stuff.
You don't know what your stuff is.
Don't start with us. Don't start.
Please.
Which is also a thing that I can't stand, is like, you have to prove yourself that you're a fan. No, I just liked it. I like it. You know, I don't have to memorize every line. I don't have to know the title of every episode. I don't have to know every guest star and
you could.
You know who was the
no, it's not wrong with that.
You know, I could, but I don't have to. And that's the thing. Like there's a one-upmanship. Like I'm more Trekker than thou. You know, like I don't even. That's why I got my sisters over here because they will run any damn trivia contest. And I'm just like, I'm out. I don't know. Don't ask me specifics. I remember, start talking to me about the storyline and the plot, and I could tell you what happened. And I don't remember the dude's name. I remember the chick had some crazy hair and she was blue or some shit,
I got you.
But it doesn't mean that I'm not a fan.
But that thing about, when I tell people that I'm a Trekkie and I'm proud of it and all this stuff. And they was like, that stock. Well, you don't look like a Trekkie fan. And then when I tell them how I became a Trekkie fan, being 11, I'm an OG. Being an 11-year-old girl, seeing Uhura up on the screen for the first time, and that opened up my world. And then they get this look on their face that says, "Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you be a fan?" So but I like, even as an 11-year-old girl, I like Twilight Zone. I like the Time Tunnel. I like Boys to the Bottom of the Sea. The Time Tunnel. Jimmy Darren, I like.
I had lunch with Jimmy.
Did you?
Oh.
I hadn't seen Jimmy in a while, I have to say, because we used to, we are close.
Mm-hmm.
But since the pandemic, everything's gotten screwed up.
Yeah.
So we talked on the phone and stuff or texted, but to actually sit down for a couple of hours, it was great. It was just so great to see him.
As well.
I was so excited when he came on.
Yeah, he's still Jimmy.
Boom doggy.
Your lips are still.
I was on that cruise when he was on that cruise, and I'm telling you, it was hilarious because he did his regular Vegas show in the evening, and there was a set of women of a certain age that just went ballistic crazy.
Sabrina, are you saying that your panties were up on the stage? Is that what you're trying to say?
He went into Gidget and we went crazy.
This is going back a couple of years, telling stories out of school. But Jimmy, myself, my wife, and Evie, his wife, went out to dinner. At this Italian restaurant on Melrose Avenue. Anyway, so we had dinner and we had parked around the corner in this little, parking lot. So we're walking out, and as we're walking, there are three or maybe four, I don't know the exact number, I don't remember, Latina women, okay? Very attractive, and I guess they were also either waiting for their car or something. And so I'm walking, my wife's walking, Evie's walking. We get to where we have to go. We turn around, no Jimmy. Jimmy is standing there being Jimmy Darren with these three women, and they are laughing and giggling. Aww. I don't think they knew who he was. I don't know.
Didn't matter.
Evie's standing there going, "This has been my life for 60 years. There's just no 60 years of this. Look at him. Look at him. Look at the smile on his face." It's like I want to say, "Jimmy, come on, time to go. Let's go." He can't help himself. He can't.
He is so charming. He just turns it on, and everybody just loves him. It was just. You can't listen. I've watched everything he's ever been in. I can't. Let me just stop with the heart flutters.
Look at Sabrina's you all flush over there.
I know.
Yeah. My son became a big Time Tunnel fan when he was little, and it was just great, buying the DVDs of the Time Tunnel and watching the Time Tunnel again. That brought me back to to being a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and they had a woman scientist on there.
They did.
You didn't see that much on TV in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Who was that? She was a former Miss America. Oh, I forget her name.
Lee Merriweather.
Lee
Merriweather, right?
Come on
right,
now, come on
right.
now, get it.
And sparks would go off, and Lee was on the dials, man.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get him back.
and they remain close. I mean, I'm not saying any of you because it's, you know, she's a very beautiful woman, and Jimmy, because again, this is even more years ago. I was asked to speak at an event that Jimmy was being honored, and they actually asked me to be one of the speakers. So I spoke, and one of the other speakers, I couldn't believe it, was Lee Merriweather.
Oh, wow.
Like 30 years after the time tunnel, at least 60, 70, 89. No, 40 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still that tight with Lee Merriweather. It was just, you know, that's just Jimmy.
Right, and it was a one-season show. I mean, it wasn't even like they did 7 seasons of anything.
7 or 3.
He's a lovely guy. He's a great guy.
I wrote a fan letter for that show. I wrote one.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I did.
That's great.
I
I was a fan letter writer when I was. I mean, that's what you did back then when you were a kid. It was nothing else. You wrote fan letters.
If anybody did it, it was Sabrina.
I did it for Star Trek. I did it for Time Tunnel, and I did it. Actually, I did a more recent one for what was the show that? Never mind. But you send an email now. It's like, send emails.
No, it's not the same.
Come on, it's not the same.
It's not.
Not at all.
No, it's not the same as getting like bucket loads of mail. Like we do, you know, a paper, just, you know, the physical volume, the physical impression.
The opening of a letter is just so much cooler than clicking on a text or
it is.
It's really a treasure. You really, you know.
Somebody took the time.
Yeah.
It takes time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, part of developing as a writer, I had a friend of mine who went to Guadalajara for medical school. He became a doctor. And a lot of kids went down to Guadalajara to medical school, which I visited once, which was, wow. I my doctor. I've never seen people party hardier in my life. Medical students in Guadalajara, and we're laughing about it now, but at the time it was like, these people are gonna
practice medicine.
Anyway, so I used to write these incredible, him and his wife, because he had gotten married and she was down there with him at times too. I would write these long letters, these crazy, funny letters to keep him amused, to keep him, and a lot, and that became a thing, because they would read the letters to their friends down in Guadalajara. So I had a little audience, so I developed, through letter writing, and we don't do that anymore. It's like 4 lines. It's like, you don't do, I had letters that had a beginning, middle, and end, as they say.
A whole
You don't have that anymore.
Nope.
I don't even think people have the patience to write that much, even if they put it in an email form.
Yeah, I know. It's so good.
Hey, listen, my father wooed my mother and got her to come to this country with his letter writing. I was like, that beautiful. Must have been some kind of letter writing, Dad.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, because she was in India, right?
Right. He wrote to her for 4 years after the war. And she came over in 49. She didn't come over with him in 45. He was writing for 4 years.
It worked.
Sure did. And I was always jealous that he never wrote a letter to me. I never had a letter from him, like when I went to camp or college or anything, because he was all spent out. He
wrote all the letters.
He wrote all like, I got what I need. I know you're coming home.
Right.
I don't know, Ira, if you remember this. On the cruise, there was a lady that you was doing a little panel, and there was a lady who came up and sat in the front and asked you, do you ever hear from Avery? And you answered the question, and, that was me. That was me. I was the one that asked you that question, and you told, that You did name someone, and I'm sorry the name slips me, that sometimes he will be in contact with.
Yeah, with Dave Zappone, who did
right.
Yeah.
You did mention that, and I was, a bit taken back because I don't know. In my head, I just thought, you all were all. I just thought you all were all not all, but that there was some kind of contact with him,
Well, I tell you, for a while there was, and as I think I said, I when I saw him at that Vegas convention, and we hadn't seen each other in 13 years, it was quite the reunion, and it was fantastic, and just hanging with, it was exactly what I wanted it to be, but Avery. As I said, Avery is the most vulnerable person I ever met, and
I remember you saying that.
He would deny it up and down, and say, "I don't know what I'm talking about," but I do know what I'm talking about, and he's wounded, in a lot of ways. He's a sensitive guy, and I know that what's been going on in the country has been tough, because when we were still in touch, I knew how much it was killing him, the way the country was shifting. But, once again, the way I look at it is I had my time with Avery. It was an exciting, it was just an exciting relationship. It was a guy, who I found endlessly fascinating, endlessly exasperating at times, and would blow my mind. I mean, that's the thing. Avery remembered everything, which is very painful, I'm sure, a lot of ways, but he would remember everything. He would call back conversations we had about the show or about whatever, and he would call me on and go, "But you said back then," and but he whatever he's been through, I just think it's had its impact on him in a lot of ways. And you'd see it sometimes, you'd see it on the show at times, but I just think time and the state of the state has, but yet he calls Zapone and just shoots the shit with Zapone at times, but man, we try to get him in that documentary. Holy.
I know. I thought.
Everything we could come up with, just the voice, anything he wanted, and we do the dance with him, and he'd say yes, maybe, then no, but I would never. Personally, besides the writing staff, who I literally lived with, not all of them at the same time, people came and went, but with the exception of the writing staff, the person who, when I think of Deep Space Nine, who I think of mostly is Avery, because he was such an enigma at times, but when he directed, that was the best, because he'd call me up at night. We'd have conversations. It was he was so happy. I wouldn't say he was so happy, but he liked being that involved. He liked the direction, and he liked it being collaborative, and he liked explaining what he was going to do the next day and how that day's shooting had gone. And it was just a whole different thing than when he was just acting.
Wow.
I used to tell my friends, also, my real life friends that didn't look at Trek back then. I said, you do know that there's a show where there's a really loving and supportive single father. And the guy's black, and I say it's really loving. I say the child isn't precocious, the dad isn't a buffoon. It's not. I would not say that. Y'all know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It was really heart-wrenching, and I said it's a whole family, and and they're like, well, what show is that? I'm like, Deep Space Nine. And they be like, oh, Star Trek. I'm like, yes, it's not just about monsters and spaceships. It's about relationships on this show. And if you want to see a great show with a great positive role model for a Black man being a father, you would check it out. Of course, since it was Star Trek, they poo-pooed me off, and I'm like, well, you're missing it, so.
I also think, one of the things looking back, I'm so pleased with, and I'm very happy we did it, is, I just thought Cassidy Yates was such... I mean, for someone who never got her own episode, basically, was such... Talk about a role model, just as a human being. Forget woman, Black. I mean, she was as contemporary a character as you could find in Star Trek. She was strong without being a bitch.
Yeah.
Handle herself. She was loving without being weak. She could hold her own with Avery. She was great with Sirach, and you just knew. As I've said to I said to Nana, a visitor recently. Cassidy Yates is one of those characters that she has a life even when she's not on screen.
Exactly.
Cassidy Yates is off doing shit when we're not watching her.
Right.
And that's when that's a good character who you can imagine being a captain, a freighter captain, doing her thing, dealing with whatever she's dealing with, and missing Ben when she's there. So I thought that was a really, it's like the two women I always compare is the success of Cassidy Yates and the failure of Keiko O'Brien. Ever were able to handle that character and give that character like an expanded life beyond being O'Brien's wife. And and on the show his wife was really Bashir, so
exactly.
So now I love the fact it's amazing what 30 years will do, because now it's all about Bashir and Garrick.
Yes,
I know.
Guys, I hate to tell you this. They were together for a handful of shows.
Right.
They got the team of Garrick and Bashir as they like to paint it now. It was Bashir and O'Brien.
Thank you.
Constantly. And that had suddenly been swept under the rug.
Remember the Alamo?
Yeah.
Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
Crossing the pond.
That's it.
Let's have a painting, sing Irish songs. Okay.
So that's bugged me. That has bugged me a lot. And even when we were doing the doc, I really couldn't get those guys. I know it pissed them off while we were doing the show. They were not thrilled that most of the time they were joined at the hip, and or at least they perceived it, that they each had shows where other things were happening, but in their minds, and I know Colum never understood, not that he never understood, but the whole going into the holosuite and doing the stuff with the, thought it was juvenile, but that's what guys do when they're trying
to like you got a buddy that you go like play some shit with,
especially during wartime. I mean, you have to have your outlet. I know that's why I said it for people who may not have gone to war, you definitely did a good job of portraying people who have to find their outlet and the PTSD. And I mean, you know, it definitely did a lot for me because you do juvenile stuff because you play hard, you work hard, so you play hard. And I thought it was, you know, we did stupid stuff because tomorrow might be the last day, you know, so you do stupid stuff, you know.
I made my sister look at that scene where Avery had poured his heart out to her about the base, take me out to the hollow suite, and why he wanted he said, you got to promise, you have to promise that you're not going to say this to anybody. Oh, I won't. And the next scene, she immediately was running her mouth. My sister said, oh, she just died. And I said, you have to look at this episode with me. This is something else, because my sister's not a tracker, but she'll tolerate it with me. And, you know, it's like when she went to, that was the funniest thing that Cassidy, I think, did. And, you know, that was so funny. Maybe promise not to tell you.
No, my favorite was that when he needed somebody to fix that team, he had to go get Cassidy. Yeah. Who are you gonna get? Let me call my girlfriend.
So Ira, let me ask you this: like, was there anything that, like, did you have hanging chads? Do you feel like you left anything out there that you really wanted some resolution for DS9?
Well, resolution. Well, you know, I mean, there's a part of me that, even though the fans would have hated it beyond even, you know, there's a part of me that said you know, at the time I was reacting to what was going on around me, and you know, you know, everyone makes the captain a god. They treat him like gods. Shatner, Picard, you know, Kate, you know, the fans worship these captains. And I said, screw that. We're going to make Sisko a god. You know?
We're going to actually make him
We're going to make him an actual god.
Make him an actual god.
Yeah. It comes all the way back from Emissary. And now we're going to finish that. Now, the fact is, yes, he was a black dad with a son, and him leaving that kid was more problematic. I got caught up in the Star Trek of it all, you know? And I see where that, you know, was a problem. Even though he said he'd come back, you know, that's what Avery wanted. It was a 2-line change or something, so we made that change. But there's part of me that would love to have ended the show with him resigning from Starfleet and moving down to Bajor.
Oh yeah,
that was
I can see that.
And literally have them, not the final shot be the space station, which is fantastic, and it's a beautiful image, and that station receding into the distance can still, you know, tickle the old heartstrings. But there was something I would love to say, you know what? Forget about Bajor coming into the Federation. I still have a lot to learn from Bajor, and this is where I belong, and this is where my life is, and that would have been nice. But no, you know, it's not that they were hanging chads. There are things that I wish we had more time. You know, we were juggling there were times we were juggling so many balls in the air. It had so many stories and so many characters. And we could also, I would like to have done more with the Maquis, but because of Voyager, you know, it was like they weren't, you know, it was like we can, but we can't. And Eddington was an interesting character in the Maquis people. But that was one of the few times where I said, no, we're killing Eddington. We're going to end that story. We have to end something. We have too many. We're getting into Dominion War. We can't have talk about a hanging chad of the Maquis, but it was how to get rid of that. Though there's part of me that wished I could have done more with that. I wish we'd come up with Section 31 a little earlier.
Yeah.
How that would have, been met if we had. I don't think there would have been a lot of stress if we really tried to. But the fact is, I came up with it when I came up with it, and we were running out of time, so we definitely didn't have enough time to play with that. So Section 31, I would think, was a bit of a hanging chad. But, like I said, 7 years, 100 every episode. I was the only writer who was there the whole time. And I really don't want to waste time. And believe me, I've beaten myself up over the years, many an episode. But so what? You got to take the bad with the good. We had 26 episodes to fill a season, and you do what, it's a speeding rocket, and you're just trying to hold on. But when I think of Deep Space Nine now, and that's after not thinking about it at all for like the first 13 years.
Wow.
I still were friends with a lot of people who were on the show, so it's not like the show was out of my life, but I wasn't doing interviews or thinking about it to the bigger picture. But, as I've told the actors, while we were, doing these documentaries, the documentary, it was like, the simple truth of it all is that it took 7 years. We were there for 7 years. And looking back on it, it was, by any stretch of the imagination, a positive experience, overall. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what? It doesn't suck.
At all. It doesn't.
Not at all.
No.
And to have something like that in your life, I mean, every time I go out, this last week and whatever it's been of going out and ticketing, and people come up and go, give me a chance to geek out, or I love the show. I wish some people would come out and say they love the 4400, which is a show I'm very proud of. That is way, way, way underrated.
Yeah, true.
Much more interesting. I understand it didn't have all the bells and whistles, but I like that show a lot, and I like to see that get a little bit more love, maybe. But Deep Space Nine, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's been 30 years, and Avery did call me up that time. That was the amazing thing. Whether it was 2012 or 2013 or whatever the freaking year it was, he called me up and was so, for Avery, he was pretty damn excited. Have you seen these new fans? These young people who were too young to even watch it when it was on. They understand it. They get it. They love it. And it was like, wow, Avery, I'm glad it's making you happy. Who would not get into those discussions at all at the time. To put that, he used to say to me, put the uniform on and see how heavy it is to wear. Put the uniform on for 12 hours and tell me if you're happy. And I get it. But I have to say, he responded to that new wave of people who were not completely, it's what drives me crazy about Star Trek. You can't just be, how is this show in comparison to other things you watch in your life? It always has to be, how is it compared to TNG? How is it compared to the
right?
How is it compared to the Voyager? How is Voyager compared to Enterprise? How is it compared to Disco? How is Disco? It's like
just watch the show.
So it's great to have fans or to be meeting fans who did not seem to care about that anymore. The other thing I would say, that from the very beginning, I will say this. When I used to go to the conventions in Pasadena, which was the big convention back in the day in the 90s, that was the one convention I'd go to. From the very beginning, I was shocked how much people in the military responded to the show, and we used to get letters from, at the time it was Lebanon was the big thing, right? That was the big, flashpoint in the Middle East and we
Bosnia.
And we would hear from soldiers. We'd get letters, and certainly at conventions, I'd meet people, and they would talk about, the thing that I loved back then was, how much they responded to Cisco as a commanding officer, as someone who they felt would have their backs and they could trust. That was fantastic. And I'm talking in the day, not 30 years later. That was cool. And also just the fact that the show performed a real purpose for them. It gave them off time, time to enjoy themselves and get away from it. And my wife used to freak out when she'd come to these conventions, because a lot of times, sometimes people, as we know, they don't want to talk to you, or they feel they don't want to, but they talk to her a lot, It's like adjacent, they could talk adjacent through, and she would get all emotional. Because there'd also be, women in the ranks who would. It was a thing. So the military we had, that's something that had never been written about. But I always felt we had a true fan base.
Oh yeah.
In the military, and that felt really good, which is why one of my things back in the day was, I really started to get a little queasy about all these space battles and ships blowing up and people dying on those ships, but no one thinks about all the people who are dying.
Right.
It's like really not good. It's not good to simplify something that's so horrible. So that's why I wanted to do as much, actual combat violence. I didn't want the fans to like it, That's why To the Death, I was so pissed off when there was the big fight with the Jemadar, the hand-to-hand combat, and it was pretty brutal. And then they got out of it. Then the Rick cut 40, 50, 60 seconds out of it, which was all like the really, scenes of the crew, really ugly killing. So not kill. It was Battle of AR, or the Siege of AR 558, stuff like that, or the stuff with obviously Nog and the PTSD. I really started to feel a little queasy about how Star Trek portrays combat and death in combat. It's like, look at that ship blow up. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Go on it.
Right. Or just counting red shirts, don't even give the guy a name.
Yeah.
Ira, I swear, I'm loving, I'm just sitting here wrapped, I am really loving your brain, and I'm really happy that we have time to sit here and listen to all of this, because I feel like I have all these questions. I feel like I could keep you forever, but I won't, because I have a ton more questions. I have a ton more questions. All right, because we've all sort of been. Well, okay. I can't even figure out where I want to go next, because I kind of I have some DS9 questions, but I also really think it's important for us to talk about the strike and what's going on with the strike, if you want to. and why people are striking, because I think that there's outside of Hollywood and outside of people who write, I think the layperson doesn't understand what this strike is about. And I've read enough of people breaking it down for me, like, because I didn't understand. I mean, I was just going to support the strike regardless, but I didn't understand what the specifics were about. Like, and then people started breaking it down. Like, these people are not making any money.
Right.
Like, at all. I was making more money when I worked at Costco than these writers are making.
Yeah. I get it. Show business, just the word show business, people think it's one thing, and that once you're on a show, you have it made, and it's all going to be beer and Skittles, and you're going to be living in a big old house, is that? And it's never been like that for most writers. And now it's becoming impossible not only to make money, but to learn the craft. Writers have become more disposable than ever before. Mm-hmm. These mini rooms that have popped up and have now become the norm of the business, where you pay people scale for 10 weeks to create basically what a show is going to be, suck all the ideas and energy out of them. And then, if the show does go, there's no guarantee they're going to even be on the show. So,
wow.
So that's like horrific. You have shows, the last show I was on, and, I'm doing considerably better than a lot of obviously people starting out, but I was on a show for 16 months. And by the time my contract finally ran out, it was 8 episodes, by the way. 16 months, 8 episodes. We hadn't filmed a single scene by the time we were done. We hadn't finished building the sets by the time we were done. So, and that's me, who they kept on. But these writers come on these 10-week deal, 20-week deals, and by the time their contracts are up, the show isn't even in production. They don't know, then they don't get taught how to be on a set. They never see a set. Mm. Then their contract is up before the show goes before the cameras, and
great.
So it's I mean, it's hard because 4 hours of picketing, which I'm not complaining about. There's a lot worse things, but it's like 4 hours of picketing and talking to writers for 4 hours about the strike every day. It's like I have the strike coming out of my ears. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is, as with all strikes, it's all about solidarity. It would be great if the other, we're getting a lot of support, knock on wood, from the Teamsters. We'll see what happens with the actors, when it's their time, because
they're coming up too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's coming up for the actors. But it's. I have to say this, and I'm going to say it only because I was talking about it today. The one thing that I have noticed about, and this is not my first, barbecue. I've done at least 4 strikes in the past, so I've been through this before. But being, and I've gone to Paramount, I've gone to Warner Brothers, I've gone to Universal, I've gone to CBS Radford. Today I was at Netflix, so I've been going to different places. And, I have noticed on the picket lines, as opposed to other strike, how many women and how many people of color are members of this guild now. It has changed. They say things don't change. I'm telling you, it's changing, and for the better. And let me tell you something. These people are not going, I believe, are not going to vote to take a shitty deal. I will be willing to stay the course, which is what, and in 2007, it was a nightmare of solidarity started to fray. Let's just put it that way. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need young blood who realize that they will never have the career they dreamed about.
That's right.
If they don't stand their ground right now. Because this is not something, because I've heard a little bit of talk of, well, do we really need to get this? Do we really need to get that? Yeah, we do. I know what it's going to be, and I know that it's easy to talk, and when it gets to the dog days of summer, so much fun.
Right.
Yep.
And the people aren't honking as much.
That's right.
3 months, and look at those losers are still standing out there. And with the signs, and suddenly it's not as much fun to watch. It's like, I still think, I'm still hopeful that this is young and hungry, which is important, hungry and dynamic base for this guild. So that's what I have to say about the strike. Just being on the picket line and looking at from my dotage now, being the old and looking at these kids I feel really inspired by them, and hopefully we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I got to say about the strike. So ask me a more fun question than
Okay,
that.
I got a more fun one for you. But thank you for taking the time to talk about it, because I think it's really important. And and I think a lot of our listeners are really invested, in supporting the writers too. So, okay, so here's one. I was listening to I watched the Shuttle Pod show that you were on. This is definitely a much more fun question to me. And you said TNG is the Connecticut of Star Trek. And I lost my shit. I was on the floor. I was laughing so hard. Can you tell people what
if
you were talking about?
His face looking at you. You don't know.
Well, I hate to say this, but I was saying this back when I was on TNG. So it's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's
Connecticut, though.
They have the carpet to prove it, but go ahead.
It's just, I mean, and I have to admit, I have not spent, even when I lived back east, I have not spent a lot of time in Connecticut.
No. We're from the Bronx. We don't do that.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine, who lives in Connecticut now. So, but look at, I mean, it's the Enterprise. It's just very clean and safe looking, and it's very, very white. And when I say that, I don't mean that they're not people, of color, walking.
We know what you talk about now.
Yeah, we know. We get it.
We got it.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me that it's just so obvious. It's and also at the time, which I really don't want to. The one thing I'm getting a little, over is talking about Gene and working with Gene and disagreements with Gene in my brief one season with on TNG. That I've made that case over and over again. But because the way the stories were told, what you could do and what you could not do, the way the show was shot.
Yeah.
So, I also used to call it, at the time, I also called it Bonanza Television.
I think they like that part.
Oh, gosh.
It's good with that.
Because it's shot like a show that was shot in the 1950s. Everything couldn't go handheld. You couldn't have interesting lighting. You couldn't do any. It was all cowboys. Everything waste. The typical clean, safe master singles.
With carpet.
That was considered classic, clean television.
Yeah.
Well, Connecticut. It's not exactly bursting with vitality.
It was so perfect. It was so perfect when I heard you describe it like that. I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. It is just, yes, you are right. You are right.
Thank you. That's pretty much Connecticut, not Bridgeport, but the rest of Connecticut.
Okay, so if you were leading up another Trek show today, what type of show would you want to make? Or would you want to make another Trek show at all?
Well, what's the one thing we all know, people? Never say never. Right? You look like an idiot.
Said.
Yeah, exactly. All I would say was I would be very confident that if I was involved, did another Trek show and had any agency within that show to steer it in a direction that I felt was artistically and creatively apropos. I am sure a lot of people would be up in arms and complaining. That would be my take, is that I think it would be back to the same old, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you telling us that you're not part of Michelle Yeoh's Section 31? Is that what you're telling us?
I am not part of Michelle Yeoh's Section 31. And I think it's not Mission Impossible.
Okay.
Dread. Okay. All right. This is a softball one.
Okay.
Why do you think Deep Space Nine is still resonating so well today? And I know it lends itself to streaming and stuff, like people but content wise.
Well, I would think that I used to say back in the day, and this is going back 30 years, but I used to say, the original series, if you look at it with too discerning an eye, is unwatchable, right?
Just about.
Again, the way it's shot, special effects. But what works is that holy trinity of Spock and McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, I'm not taking away from any of the other actors,
Mm-hmm.
but Kirk, Spock, and McCoy will allow me, if ever I watch an episode, to stay entertained and understand that beyond whatever, point, whatever social point it was trying to show, wherever its beating heart was, giving us our lesson in civics and in human interaction, which is all fine and good. But in terms of entertainment, in terms of caring, in terms of empathy, it's those three people. Mm-hmm. What does that tell us? It tells us that character is everything. Character is everything. I couldn't tell you half of the shit that went on in Game of Thrones, but I cared about some of those characters and I followed their journeys. I didn't care who sat on the Iron Throne. Big deal. But I cared about those characters. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and again, a lot of it was laid out in the pilot, and even in the kind of hinky first season, there were flashes of it, is that Deep Space Nine is a truly character-driven show.
Right.
And whatever plot machinations, whatever bigger picture, that you were supposed to follow and care about, it all was filtered through the lens of the people who were involved in the story. And that kind of storytelling, I think, will never go out of style if you care. And we gave you so many people to care about.
Definitely.
The Roms and Ram and Nog and Penny, and I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, even Zial.
The many Zials. The many
Zials.
Yeah, there was like 3 of them, right?
You see her? Now you don't. No.
But we were still upset when she got it.
When whoever played the part, we still were really upset when she got killed. Yeah.
And that's you should not have been, because you should have just been going, that's not Zial. Who the hell?
We didn't care.
I mean, is she a changeling? She is a changeling. But,
especially not if you watch any British television. You're so used to them replacing actors like all the time. It's just like, oh, that's a new guy? Wait.
So that's what I'm most proud of, without a doubt. And what I used to say, again, to the writers, I know I said a lot of things to the writers, doing 26 and we were together all the time. So was that, it's now a hackneyed phrase, but it was just really coming into the lexicon at the time, was, it's a novel for television. It's a novel for television. And not a plot-driven novel. It was a novel about these people. Yeah. And so I think that's what wears well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because I swear, it's one of the only Star Treks that, I mean, I've seen every episode multiple times. But if I start watching, of course, you can't finish just one, like Lay's potato chips. You're going to go into the next 3 episodes. And sometimes I actually don't remember what's going to happen. I'm so into the story, like where I was.
So many of them.
I know. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one where, wait a minute, what's going to happen?
And don't
like
watch DS9 before you got to go to work, because you will be late.
Made me late so many times. I was like, yeah, okay, wait a minute.
Oh, damn, let me get out of here.
Missed that bus. Okay.
I still cry every time in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every time.
I'm
never
crying
fails.
on the Visitor. I'm crying.
Cried on the Visitor every time.
And every time you kill Jadzia, I'm done.
Every time.
Oh God, yes.
Every time. Nicole, we accept. Esri, y'all tried, and bless your heart.
Real hard.
I was like, who the hell? Where?
But she did go after Worf.
Trying.
She won me over when she went after Worf.
Yeah, me too. She went toe to toe with Worf.
Oh,
and
she was
told
going.
him,
I'm gonna
shut
find
up.
him.
When she told him, he talking about going. She said, "Oh, shut up." Yeah,
that's right. And she went and found him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, shut up.
But y'all did her. You gave her some interesting stuff, because that must have been a really challenging thing for you guys to.
Well, it was the last thing we needed. It's the last thing we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who goes into the 7th season of the show where we had so much momentum? It's like Ron said in the documentary. None of us thought she was going to go. We all thought that it was going to be worked out. How could it not be worked out?
Right.
And then by the time we realized that it wasn't, and that she was really going, then it became a scramble to say, no, we're not going to let this defeat the last season of the show. And we're not going to, lose the character, of Dax. It just seemed like we could not lose that character because we didn't have time to bring in a whole new character. And we didn't want, we had to give, Worf something to be reacting to besides just grief. Grief was too easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know what? It's all part of of making stuff, it's you have to be able to adjust to things that ultimately you have no control over. So then you got to regain some kind of control over the bigger picture. And, I was really unhappy that we could not use Terry's likeness in the final montage. It really hurt my her agents, and she didn't want it either. So that hurt. That was, it still bugs me that she's not represented after all those years she was on the show, but that was the choice that they made. So
yeah, but we got her, like she's not in the final montage, but it's the whole body of work that that speaks. We got her. Because even when I watch that montage, my brain puts her in there anyway.
When you said that, I was like, she's not in there? She's not. Like, wait, I thought she was.
And I had already pictured her and Wolf's daughter.
Yeah.
Well, Ira, for real, we could keep you all night, but you have been more than generous with your time for us, and we are so very, very appreciative. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Well, I'm appreciative of your passion. It's a lovely thing to see. I have to say, I hope you guys never lose it. I hope that
not going anywhere.
You continue to keep this podcast in gear for as long as you want it to go.
Thank you.
I hope that Trek keeps on giving you, your little boost that it gives you, and that you keep enjoying it. And I'm glad to have been a part of it. I'm glad to have given you guys some fun in your life. It's a freaking cold, cruel world a lot of the time. So I know I love my entertainment. I got a freaking library full of thousands, literally, of books. I have DVDs and Blu-rays wherever you look. It's one of the things that have been with me my whole life.
So you were well prepared during COVID, right?
Yeah,
you were well prepared during COVID.
Shit, man. Yes. My wife is like, he's giving my kids when they were little. All they used to go was they used to kind of sing a song: books and movies and DVDs and books and books and movies. Books. So I get it. We watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended version, every
that's the only version to watch.
Yeah, but we did it 15 years in a row, and now my kids are married, my kids are their own, and we still try to find time to get in a marathon. So I understand enjoyment and being a fan and loving the work and what it gives you. So thank you for taking the show into your hearts, and don't think it's not appreciated. And I've enjoyed spending a little bit of time with you, and continued success, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And
Great.
Thanks.
yeah. And just so you know, whenever we see your name on a show, we're watching. Like, we're not just stuck in Trek with you. Like, we are with you. You know, our writers from DS9, we support y'all all the time. Like,
I definitely appreciate that. That's really sweet of you to say. You know, it was a long day of striking, so this is a nice way to end the day, you know. So
that's what's up.
Thank
What's up. So, Yvette, you want to tell people how they can reach us if they have thoughts on some of the things that we talked about today, or if they happen to disagree with the fact that TNG is Connecticut? I mean, they're wrong, but they can disagree if they want to. You want to tell them how to reach us?
DS9, the Bronx. Okay.
No, DS9 is Chocolate City. So anyway.
Okay. You can find us at sci-fisistas.com. That's SYFYSISTAS.com. Join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. And the Sci-Fi Sistas Book Club, both on Facebook. On Instagram and TikTok, sci-fi.sisters. And we're also on the Twitter at Sci-Fi Sisters. Become a patron of Sci-Fi Sisters today at patreon.com/Sci-Fi Sisters. The Trek Geeks Network presenting sponsor is Fansets. Go to fansets.com for pins and memorabilia for all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, for your exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We may just read it on an upcoming episode.
Y'all, it's been so much fun. We got one last shout out to do, and that's for the baddest engineer in all universes. He's Dose, the anonymous one. He's responsible for the music that you hear. Dose. He has his own theme song. He's our engineer, the bestest. If you need his skills, you can look him up on Instagram at dose_the_anonymous_1. And y'all, that's it for us. We are out of here. Thank you for listening. We love you very much. Peace, love, and hair grease.